Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
What's the biggest risk you'll face in retirement? Risk itself. I'm going to show you how to avoid it. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money. The WorryFree Retirement with your host, five-time author and fiduciary, the money missionary himself, Tony Walker.
If you're retired or even thinking about retiring in the next several years, did you realize the biggest risk you face now is retiring in what we like to refer to in this business as a bear market? And on today's show, I'm going to follow up on last week's show regarding the scale of risk for assets in retirement and show you how one simple financial tool might, just might, be the ticket you've been looking for to retire worry-free and also make sure you don't outlive your money during these turbulent times and avoiding risk. I'm Tony Walker. Thanks for joining us on the WorryFree Retirement. With us in the studio, as always, is America's favorite financial sidekick producing the show, Aaron Orander. And just for the heck of it, Aaron, let's put up today's date because we are in turbulent times. I mean, I'm sitting here rambling on about the market today. Who knows what it's going to do? But basically, today's program is being recorded on April 10th, 2018. Before we get into today's show, let me kind of get into the stage of understanding what a bear market is. Assuming you haven't been living in a cave the last 20 or 30 years, you probably hear people in the financial world throw this term around, bull market, bear market. So I'm going to assume that maybe you're not really sure what a bear market is. So basically, a bear market is usually defined as a period of time when the price of an investment, usually we use the stock market, of course, drops by at least 20% or more from the previous 52-week high. So for instance, let's say that the S&P 500 is at 1,000, and over the next 52 weeks, 12 months, a year, however you want to stack it up, at the end of that period of time, it ends up at 800. Well, in its simplest form, this would constitute a bear market because it dropped 20% over a period of 1 year from its original value. Now, my 33 years in the financial world, the worst bear market I've ever experienced in terms of length of time was actually not 2008. Now, 2008 is the worst year I've ever experienced since getting into this business in 1984, when it dropped some 40%. That was horrific. I'm sure many of you remember that. But actually, the longest bear market period that I've experienced over the last several decades was between 2000 and 2002. This was a 3-year period of time, folks, that money continued to slide if you had money in the stock market. Now, many people forget about this period of time, unless, of course, you were retired during this period of time and had all your eggs over there in the Wall Street basket. You would have remembered this 3-year bear market very well. But some of you did not have a lot of money in the market then, or maybe just weren't paying attention to it. So we have to assume that if it happened in the past, something like this could happen in the future. So we're going to take a look at what happened in 2000, all right? We're going to go back in time, and we're going to imagine that same period of time, that 3-year bear market, were to occur right now, okay? So we're trying to visualize what would happen if something like this were to occur today. And we're going to use an example of somebody maybe having, let's say, $500,000 in a 401k. And maybe over the last several years since '08, man, they've been rocking along. And you may be experiencing this. You might be saying, gosh, the last 4 or 5 years, we've been in a bull market, right? The market continues to go up. I got all kinds of money. In fact, you may have recently met somebody from Wally World. And they've said, well, I've done well in the stock market. And the Wall Street representative says, look, you're going to continue to do well in the market. Over the long term, the market always does great. So what are you worried about? Well, folks, those are called projections. And many of you are falling into this trap of looking over the past. And ironically, it's funny, Wall Street is supposed to tell you, and I'm supposed to remind you as a fiduciary, that past returns are no indication of future returns. There's no guarantees, but everybody tends to forget that during the good years. So listen closely. Over the last 10 years of the stock market, we're going to use this example. Let's imagine that you've averaged 10% return. I call that kind of funny because, again, the financial world would imagine, because even if you made 10%, we're going to assume you're going to make 10% in the future. Just look at all the volumes of paperwork if you got it. You don't believe me. Go find the fine print, and you're going to see, again, this term, there's no guarantees that past performance reflect future returns. But never mind, your broker or your 401k representative forgets all those warnings and starts talking again about this bull market. This stock market that they remind you of has done great over the long term. Don't worry about it. But again, what we're going to kind of enter into this equation is, sure, the market's done well over the long term, but what if we have another bull market and you're sitting there getting ready to retire, or maybe you recently retired? What happens to your money? And worse yet, what happens if you're taking out income during one of these devastating bear markets? This could happen, folks, and your nest egg is very, very vulnerable to what we call a bull market. So we're talking about a new term that I want to introduce. It's a term that's used in the financial world, and I don't want to get too complicated, but it's really called sequence of returns, because these returns, your money is affected differently when you go to draw money out. Remember, retirement planning, we're no longer just accumulating money. We're going to have to pull some of that money out, and the sequencing of returns is a huge deal, because as you're going to see when we come back after this episode here on this segment, when we start taking money out of that, the sequencing of returns will have huge implications on your money, assuming we're in one of these bear markets. Now, I'm not going to leave you high and dry. Last week, we touched on a product that we use extensively in our office. It's something called a fixed indexed annuity. And I'm going to explain how a fixed indexed annuity would work and how it would protect you in retirement should we go through another one of these bear markets. This is going to be some good stuff. Let me get the whiteboard out. You stay tuned. You're watching the Worry-Free Retirement. So there you are watching the Worry-Free Retirement and have an interest in our process. So you go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and you click on the Let's Get Started button. You say, now what? Well, first of all the information you provide us is strictly confidential. Only one of our full-time employees will see this information and contact you immediately to confirm your submission of the information you've sent and to schedule a time to see us. Shortly after setting up your first appointment, you will receive a starter kit for you to complete to bring to that first appointment meeting. Now, during our 30-minute time together, we will clarify your vision, review all of your documents, and then schedule a second appointment so that we can provide your free assessment. During the second appointment, you'll have a chance to review the assessment. We will answer any questions you have, and then you can take that assessment for review, again, at absolutely no cost or obligation to you. Of course, if you wish to move forward with any of our recommendations, we will set up another appointment and handle all the moving of the money from your current brokerage accounts, 401ks, or other institutions into our worry-free retirement process. It really is that simple. So what are you waiting for? If you're retired, nearing retirement, maybe have a 401k or lump sum pension, or recently received an inheritance or other lump sum amount of money, go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started today.
Why worry about running out of money in retirement when you don't have to? Attend Tony Walker's next free educational workshop, Safeguarding Your Money During Turbulent Times. That's right, the author and creator of the Worry-Free Retirement, Tony Walker, will personally show you how to use, enjoy, and protect your hard-earned money by avoiding the 5 most common mistakes savers are making with their money and how to avoid them. This free 1-hour workshop will begin promptly at 6 p.m. and is being offered at 3 different locations, so you can choose the best location that suits your busy schedule. Louisville on April 23rd, Elizabethtown Tuesday, April 24th, and Bowling Green Thursday, April 26th. That's safeguarding your money during turbulent times with Tony Walker in Louisville, Monday, April 23rd, Elizabethtown Tuesday, April 24th, and Bowling Green Thursday, April 26th. This workshop is free, but seating is limited and registration is required, so don't miss out. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to register. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
And now it's time for Tony in the Trenches.
Welcome back to the WorryFree Retirement. Our Tony in the Trenches today comes from Linda, who literally came by the office and handed this to me, so I'm paraphrasing her question, but let's put it full screen. Basically, Linda said, Tony, my current advisor sent me this communication recently and talking about changes in their brand positioning. My question is, what is brand positioning, and is this something I should be worried about? This is a great question from Linda, and this depicts the problem savers run into when dealing with Wall Street and financial advisors. In fact, this communique says to Linda and all of their clients apparently that you're going to see a new logo and a new brand positioning. So I turned around and asked Linda, I said, Linda, do you even know what brand positioning means? And it was so funny. She said, Tony, I have no clue what they're talking about. I just want to make sure my money's protected. So again, folks, also too, by the way, they're going to change the name of their financial consultants to wealth advisors. You know, I'm seeing this term more and more, wealth management, wealth advisors. You know, we talked about this several weeks ago. What is wealth? Well, wealth doesn't mean anything until you figure out how to convert that wealth or money to cash, put it in your pocket, and enjoy it. And most advisors have no clue how to do this. In fact, most advisors from Wall Street are still working on this premise that the market is where you got to have all your money because the market's where it's at, and over the long term, the market's done great. And over the long term, that's true, but that's not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about is the real world of you retiring. We're introducing this concept of sequence of returns risk and what happens to your money, devastatingly so, if we go through what's called a bear market. So again, forget wealth advisors, forget rebranding. If your money's going down the tubes and you're yanking money out, you're getting ready to see this, this is going to send you into a tailspin when it comes to your money. So let's take a look at the whiteboard. We're going to show you the 3-year bear market from 2000 to 2002. And then I'm going to show you if you had had this money in a fixed indexed annuity, how we could, with our process, try to stave off some of this risk that is so apparent in what we're going to show you. So let's go to the whiteboard here, Aaron. I'm going to get my cheat notes out here. And again, we're going to be assuming that we have a $500,000 account, okay? And maybe you've had great success with this account. You've had it over at Wally World and it's done great. And then all of a sudden we hit the year 2000, okay? This actually happened, folks. This is the year 2000. Again, if you're just now joining us, we're imagining you've retired recently or thinking about retiring soon, and we get ready to go through another 3-year bear market like we did between 2000 and 2002. So imagine here, and we'll just do this. Let me write it like this, Aaron. Imagine that every year you need, out of this account, $20,000 a year. And maybe you've been told you can make 7-8% or whatever they've told you. And you say, well, shoot, if I can make $35,000, $40,000 a year, surely I can take out 20. And on the surface, I would say, yeah, that's pretty good math. You're right. You should easily be able to take out $20,000 a year. Remember, assuming you make the same returns that Wall Street has made in the past, which we know is not a guarantee. Okay, key word, not guaranteed. So in 2000, we're going to go down. We're going to put 2001 here. The market dropped about 10%. So remember, you had to take out $20,000 because you needed income. The market dropped 10%. So at the end of 2000, you're now $500,000 is worth about $430,000. That's not looking too good, is it? Are you worry-free yet? All right, let's keep moving. So now 2001, you say, well, surely the market will come back, won't it? Remember, we were in a 3-year bear cycle here. So at the end of 2001, we'll go out to 2002, the market took another dive. What did it drop down there? It dropped down 13%. So we had another drop of 13%. You needed your $20,000. Now we're down to $330,000. $257,000 just after 2 years. Again, picture yourself retired, okay? You're 65, 66. 2 years go by and you're down to 357. You called your old boss back and go, hey, boss, can I come back and work? And they're like laughing you out the door, you know? Your job's not available. There's nothing to do. You're stuck at 357. So what do? Do you get out of the market? Do you hang in there? Well, let's say you decided to hang in there, all right? And we're running out of room here, so this is not going to be to scale. But we go out to 2003, okay? So between 2002, 2003, what happened? We lost another 23%, and you kept taking your money out. So I'll just put it up here, Aaron, so we'll have space. So you're left at the end of the third year with $260,000. Now you're saying, Tony, surely that won't happen again. I don't know if it'll happen again or not, but that's the whole problem. When we get into sequencing returns of risk, this is dramatically what would have happened had you been back in 2000, 2001, and 2002 taking out that kind of money. And I think we would all agree this would be foolish. I mean, who would do this, working all of your life to risk all of your retirement in this manner? So we don't know if it can happen, but we know it could happen, all right? Key point. So what's the other option? You say, well, Tony, what do y'all do in your process? You mean you don't just throw it all in the market like that and hope for the best? No, we don't, because we work with savers, not investors and speculators. So if we can kind of slide over here, Aaron, our option, I'll just call it the worry-free retirement, what we do is we diversify this risk. We diversify the sequencing of risk by inserting guarantees. This is where we're different. Now, granted, if this market will do great, obviously we're not going to be able to keep up with Wally World over here. If you had 100% in your market when it's doing great, we're not trying to assume it's going to do great. We have to assume the worst when we're doing retirement planning, because there is no do-overs here, folks, okay? This is really key to understanding where you're going to be when you're retired. We're not talking about people Aaron's age in their 30s or 40s. These are people that I'm working with that are retired or nearing retirement, what we like to call at halftime or in the second half of life. So with the worry-free retirement, to diversify this, we would take this $500,000 401k or IRA or whatever it is, and in order to deal with the sequencing of risk, we would create two buckets. Now, bucket number one, I'll just call it bucket A, would be some money in the market. The reason we need some money in the market is we need liquidity, we need flexibility during halftime, and of course, if the market were to do decent, we want some of those gains, okay? So we might have some money in the market. And you say, well, how much, Tony? That depends on your situation, and that's why we would need to meet. My job is, with 33 years in this business and meeting thousands of people, is to sit down knees to knees, nose to nose, eyes to eyes, and try to figure this out with your situation. We don't care what everybody else is doing. We don't care what Wally World says you're supposed to do. We want to build this plan around you and your needs and your situation. So bucket A would have possibly some money in the market. All right? Now here's the key though. Bucket B, one of my favorite buckets. Remember last week, if you watched the show, we've written over $285 million in fixed indexed annuity premiums since 9/11. Why do we write so much annuities? Because we love them. They provide guarantees, and it's the only tool that can guarantee, an annuity that is, you won't run out of money. By the way, we haven't talked about this in a while. I had somebody in the office the other day and they said, hey, where's that annuity booklet I used to hear about? I'd like one of those. So it's a great booklet if you'd like to learn about annuities. It's called An Annuity Decision Guide for Savers. You can get it at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Won't you log on and get that? We'll mail you a free copy. Great booklet to learn more about the truth about annuities. So basically what we do, we take your income from here, and then we put what's called an income rider. Currently, they can be anywhere as much as 6% guaranteed in bucket B on this annuity. So what's happening is, and this should be very simple to understand, you're pulling money from here, but this bucket is guaranteed to grow, so one day you'll have money to replace what you spend here. It's not that complicated. So again, we're trying to deal with risk. We're trying to deal with any bear markets that might come our way, but the only way to do that, I don't care what Wally World says, the only way to do that is you have to build in some guarantees. So let us show you how to do that. Our process is really simple. All you got to do is go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Once there's a Let's Get Started button. When you click on that, that information is confidentially sent to our offices. We don't share that information with anybody. Absolutely confidential. Our offices will follow up, confirm your information, your address, all that good stuff, and then decide what's the most convenient place for you and I to meet, either in our Bowling Green office or our Louisville, Kentucky office. I know we're getting a little short on time here, but real quickly, here's a few shots of our office on Shelbyville Road. We're still working on it. Kind of the entry date of when we move in there on 8303 Shelbyville Road, probably mid-May. Here's some photos Aaron's throwing up, really coming along nicely. And we're really, really excited about our brand new studio, which is going to give us a lot more capability to do some more great things on this show that I know you're going to enjoy. Well, we've been talking about trying to understand how to deal with risk and the idea of building guarantees in. And I hope through just this simple illustration of how we work, you're understanding better why you need to take stock in the fact that the stock market is very risky, and how can we build a simple plan in place with investments that can make sure you don't run out of money in retirement. Well, does the Bible have anything to say about sequencing of risk? No, but it has a lot to say about understanding things that can be very, very complicated when actually they don't need to be. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but first I got to get me a cup of coffee. I'll be right back.
Learn the secrets to safeguarding your money during turbulent times. Register now for Tony Walker's next free workshop as seating is limited. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Let's face it, the last thing you want in retirement is to be full of life and flat broke. I'm Tony Walker, and for the past 33 years, I've made it my life's mission to make certain that my clients don't go broke in retirement by providing mailbox money for life. Let me show you how easy it is to be worry-free in retirement by creating a guaranteed income you can never outlive. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started today.
Why worry about running out of money in retirement when you don't have to? Attend Tony Walker's next free educational workshop, Safeguarding Your Money During Turbulent Times. That's right, the author and creator of the WorryFree Retirement, Tony Walker, will personally show you how to use, enjoy, and protect your hard-earned money by avoiding the 5 most common mistakes savers are making with their money and how to avoid them. This free 1-hour workshop will begin promptly at 6 p.m. and is being offered at 3 different locations, so you can choose the best location that suits your busy schedule. Louisville on April 23rd, Elizabethtown Tuesday, April 24th, and Bowling Green Thursday, April 26th. That's Safeguarding Your Money During Turbulent Times with Tony Walker in Louisville, Monday, April 23rd, Elizabethtown Tuesday, April 24th, and Bowling Green Thursday, April 26th. This workshop is free, but seating is limited and registration is required, so don't miss out. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to register. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
All right, another good cup of coffee on this beautiful morning here in Louisville, Kentucky. Hope you're enjoying the show. Now, you may be sitting here for the first time in your life saying, wow, I never really truly understood how devastating it could be to retire, then start drawing money out from my retirement accounts, and then suffer through one of these, what you call, Tony, bear markets. You know, this may be the first time in your life that you, again, have understood why, and again, we're assuming you're a saver out there, that you have to have something, I don't care what it is, but in this case, we're recommending you consider something that is guaranteed like a fixed indexed annuity within your retirement planning accounts. Folks, again, if you're a saver, what we're talking about is guaranteeing that regardless of what happens with any bull or bear market, that you don't run out of money. So regardless of what the stock market might do in the future, we have to build in guarantees. So I hope you understand how important that is and why the Worry-Free Retirement builds these guarantees into our process. So what about understanding? Hopefully you're understanding more about this subject. And the Bible speaks to this because, again, when we're trying to understand new information, this whole idea of understanding is a difficult concept. In fact, I've often realized when I'm trying to learn new information, I have to have people do visuals. I have to go over it again. It takes me a while to understand something, but in many cases, I feel like once I get it, I get it. Well, retirement planning is no different. Many of you don't understand retirement planning because this is the first time in your life you've had to take money you've earned and then figure out how to use and enjoy and protect it. So the reality is this is of utmost importance to understanding how to worry less about your money is understanding how retirement planning works. Now, recently, I was asked to speak to over 500 financial advisors during a conference that was hosted by a large insurance company in Las Vegas. And part of that talk to these advisors was reminding them of the important fact to the consumer, to the saver, that if they don't understand what you're talking about, they are going to worry. So God is no different. God is not a God of confusion, but actually God's a God of order. And actually, He would rather keep all this stuff really simple. Why? So we could understand what it is He's talking about. In fact, let's turn there and let's go over to Luke 24:45. Luke 24:45, and let's just see what this says. It basically says that He, this is Jesus He's talking about in the Scripture, opened their understanding that they might comprehend the Scriptures. So you see, some of you are sitting there saying, well, Tony, I read that Bible of yours all the time. I'm just confused by it. I don't think it's very simple to understand at all. Well, maybe because you're reading it for the wrong reasons. See, here's what I've found in my own life. If I'm reading the Bible in order to get something from God, usually I don't get anywhere with that. But if I start reading the Scriptures in order to understand who this God is, then all of a sudden, it all starts making a little more sense. In fact, Jesus reminds us of this. You know, the disciples didn't want Him to go, and He said, actually, it's going to be better if I leave, because when I leave, I'm going to send you a helper. In fact, that helper, we know is the Holy Spirit, will give you the power, along with God's words, to teach you like no other man can teach you. And folks, that is certainly some good news. So I may not know a whole lot about Scripture, but I try to learn, right? But I do understand a lot about retirement planning, and I know a whole lot about helping savers worry less about money, and that starts with a personal appointment. What we do at this first appointment is just simply sit down, you and I, one-on-one, and I try to understand who you are, what it is you have to work with, and what you want to accomplish with your money. It's really that simple. Then we put together a game plan at the second appointment that, again, is very simple and easy for you to understand. Again, just like I shared with those 500 advisors, if you don't understand the game plan, why in the world would you not be worried about money? And most importantly, should you decide to do business with us, we actually do all the work. We help you implement the game plan. We transfer all of the accounts over into our process, and in many cases, we can transfer and get all this money moved into our process for little to no out-of-pocket cost to you. So give me a chance. Let us share our process with you, the WorryFree Retirement. It's easy to do. All you got to do to get started is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Now, once you click on that particular button, that will take you to a page fill. That will then go to our office, and we will call you personally, confidentially, to set up a no-obligation appointment to meet with me in person at either our Bowling Green or Louisville, Kentucky offices. And best of all, that's right, it's absolutely no cost and there is no obligation on your part. So let's get started. TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Well, in the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed today's program. I've enjoyed being with you. You remember, though, between now and next week, between now and the next time I see you, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.
Thank you for watching the Worry-Free Retirement with Tony Walker. If you need a safe and simple game plan for your retirement, log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and schedule a free, no-obligation meeting with Tony.